Hello and Happy New Year. Welcome to 2018 to our Thoughtfully Fit Thursdays on Facebook Live. I'm Darcy Luoma, and today I have a special guest, Deb MacKenzie, who is joining us to talk about the professional development trends that we are seeing. Deb has been with me for the last, well, she can tell you exactly, but it's been many years. And Deb is the Vice President of Business Operations. She's really, I say, the VP of everything, anything and everything. And when I first met Deb, she came highly recommended to me. I was looking to expand my team, and she came highly recommended. And so we met for lunch in downtown Madison, and she was very pregnant. And shortly after having her beautiful child Ryder, she started working for me. So I think she'll know exactly how long she's been working here. I want to welcome you, Deb, and ask if you'd start by just telling us a little bit about your background and who you are and what brought you to DLCC.
Oh, sure. Well, thank you for having me today. I think this is going to be fun. Like Darcy said, my name's Deb MacKenzie. I have been with Darcy Luoma Coaching Consulting for 3 years now. At the end of the month will be my 3-year anniversary.
I figured you would know. When's Ryder's birthday?
Ryder's birthday is September 25th. So I think he was 4 months old when I started.
Right.
Before this, I worked for another company for 17 years. I was everything. I started in networks. So I was IT, kind of that position morphed into project management. I got out of the IT side, got into the more business side of the company, all kinds of things, project management, business analyst, and ended up in my last department at my old company was in strategic communications. So a lot of marketing type activities, working with writers and designers and just a lot of different people throughout the company, a lot of web. So my background is very diverse. Lots going on in my background.
Yeah, which is great because you brought all of that to DLCC, Darcy Luoma Coaching and Consulting, when you came. I was just looking at my watch because I didn't realize yesterday was my 5-year anniversary of launching my business. So I guess it was a couple of years in, and I think one of the things that you did, Deb, when you came on board is brought all of that background and those skills that you had built over a couple of decades and put them immediately to use in terms of creating some systems and processes and business operations and a strategic plan and a budget and help bring us into a more professional realm, I'd say.
Yeah, we've done a lot in 3 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And how about on the personal side? People about you?
Yeah, no, I'm married. My husband Ken and I have been married for 4 years. Ryder, my son, my only child, is 3 years and 4 months. Before the kiddo, I was a triathlete. I haven't done a race since I got pregnant. Would like to go back, but may also decide that I'd rather golf than beat myself up on a bike. I was married to a dairy farmer before that, which always blows people's minds that I was his wife. I always like to throw that in there. Yeah, so just bachelor's degree from Whitewater in economics and finance. So numbers and analysis is kind of my thing. What else? I got a brother. I have a new nephew. I have a brother who lives 2 blocks away. His name is Brian, and his girlfriend Brittany had just had a baby a few months ago. So I've got a new little nephew to play with. Awesome. Who's coming over tonight, which I'm very excited about.
Cool. Yeah, so you have a full, rich life, and I can't even say enough at how much you have brought to our team. And in terms of your role, the piece that we thought it might be interesting to share with people is, you do a lot behind the scenes, but you also are the first person that any new client sees when they are searching for anything as it relates to professional development, creating high-performing teams, looking for coaching services, trainings, workshops, speakers. you're the front lines. And so I thought it'd be interesting to hear from you and to share a little bit about what kinds of organizations and companies reach out, and what do they contact us about? What are they looking for when they are reaching out saying we need something?
Sure. In terms of the types of companies, I think our reach it's across the board. It can be from large corporations that are for-profit, not-for-profit, government, very small organizations. I mean, it's all over the place. Small business owners. Really, I think we've hit every segment in terms of type of business that we can possibly hit in terms of people who have reached out and that we've worked with.
And probably also every industry in terms of healthcare, manufacturing, dentists, you name it. And I think one of the reasons it is such a broad cross-section of Fortune 500 all the way down to small businesses is because we are looking at helping organizations become more efficient and working with their employees. And across the board, it doesn't matter what industry or how big you are, people are people.
Exactly. A lot of times I'll hear it's like, well, you need to understand, like, we're XYZ. It's like, absolutely, we want to know more about you and your people. But at the bottom of it all, the issues are the same. If there's a communication issue in a company, it doesn't matter if you are healthcare or a credit union. I mean, communication issues are communication issues. They are in every business. Yeah. And how we address them isn't based on the job that you have. It is based on the person and teaching them new skills to help them, be a better communicator. And that can translate into whatever job they have today and to wherever they may go in the future.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because also it's not just the leaders, the CEO, the C-suite, the managers, the directors. We're also providing services for frontline employees as well.
Yep.
What would you say, Deb, are some of the themes about what companies contact us about? I heard you talk about communication.
Oh, my God. Again, kind of a broad spectrum here. I guess I kind of look at it. So sometimes we get people who are coming to us and they're looking like there's an issue. We've got a team in conflict. We've got a group that they work really well together, but they've got some communication issues, and they could go from where they are now and they could be much greater. We have companies who are looking at it proactively and thinking about there's a lot to the current trend in coaching, and we'd like to bring coaching skills into our organization. We've got companies who reach out and are looking to develop their leaders either in a group setting or in a one-on-one setting. Building high-performing teams is another one that we often hear, is that, again, maybe there doesn't have to be an issue. The team is good. It's got a lot of emerging leaders and high potentials, and we want to invest in them. So there's a broad sense of, coaching, team, conflict, communications, developing leaders that we see on a daily basis.
Yeah, and I think as you're talking, it feels like there's sort of two categories. There's the people, organizations, companies that reach out saying, we want to invest in our team and our employees to make them better. And then there's those who reach out because they say there's some issue, there's some conflict, there's something that we want to work on to try to get to a place where we can communicate better and have less conflict.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's simplifying it?
Yes.
Yeah. And so when they reach out saying we want to have these skills, we want to learn how to create a coaching culture, develop our managers to be use coaching skills. We want to address conflict in a healthy way. We want another big one I think I hear, how to have difficult conversations. We call them balanced conversations, where you're balancing having the courage to state your needs and do it with compassion so the other person can hear it. How to deal with team toxins that show up when unfortunately those balanced conversations aren't happening, and then resentment builds up and toxins. And so when those issues come forth and an organization says we need help tackling that, what are the services that are available that you work through companies with and try to help them figure out what the right fit is for what they need? Yeah,
absolutely. So when someone reaches out, we just start with a conversation. What's going on? What's happening? What led you to call today? And I learn more about their environment, if there's an issue, or what the conflict is, or the goals they're trying to achieve. Really is what I'm trying to learn. And then based on that conversation, we'll talk about what are the potentials. One of the potentials, and this is an option for when, like, if I work for a company and I've got a high performing individual or an individual I want to invest in, a lot of times we'll talk about coaching for leaders, emerging leaders, high performers. That's one-on-one professional development with one of the coaches on our team. We'll talk about that as an option. And again, that's an individual thing, but there is also team coaching, which we've done often for teams. So a lot of times we'll have a team that, like I mentioned before, is high potential, great team. There's some dynamics that we want to improve. We want to make sure that the team excels. And we'll bring in one of our coaches to do teams coaching, which is kind of fun because it brings everyone to the table in a more, I'd say, intimate and more open setting rather than sitting in a kind of a classroom type format. With those sessions, there's a lot of accountability in between and a lot of work that happens within the group directly. So a lot of coaching. We also talk often about a company will call in like, oh, I saw Darcy at Brava and I would love to bring in XYZ topic that I saw her talk on. So we do a lot of training and workshops. We'll do half-day workshops. We'll do full-day workshops. We'll do a series of workshops to help improve or allow companies to invest in their people to help improve their communication skills, their leadership skills, their team building skills, all of those things. We also offer different types of assessments. So we'll do DISC, Myers-Briggs. We'll also do custom assessments. We'll come in and do a 360. We'll interview people and do a custom assessment of, a person that a company is looking to invest in or learn more about so that they can determine the right course for that person's professional future. There's a lot of organizational development as well. We don't talk about that very often, but we'll work with companies who, a recent one is we had a company who they had a change in leadership. It's a small company. The board of directors was noticing that there was some tension between the past leadership and the current, because past leadership was still there. The current leadership was in place. And we came in and worked with them, did some 360s, did a retreat, did some team building, kind of a custom package for them to help them overcome the place they were at to get to a good place where they currently are. And then the thing that I can't overlook that Darcy talks about all the time is thoughtfully fit. So we'll bring in thoughtfully fit to an organization. We've recently given it as a 4-part series over the course of 4 months with additional learnings in between, accountability groups that are, managed within or managed by the attendees of the group. It's a really we could talk about that forever, but we've been bringing thoughtfully fit to the market a lot more lately as well.
Yeah, and just staying on that one for a minute, because that is really one of the newest products that we have been bringing into companies. I think one of the things that's beneficial about that is it's packaged in a way that we've taken the top themes of what we've heard over the last 5 years that companies struggle with and need, developing leaders and improving communication and dealing with conflict and building high-performing teams and dealing with those relationship toxins that show up. I talk a lot about in my Thursday live videos and my Wednesday workouts. And we've packaged them in a way where, as you just alluded to, or you said, it's a 4-part series. And the cool thing about that series is that at the end of each of those workshops, there is designed homework in between the sessions. Oh shoot! And now I'm starting to hear that echo again. That happened. Can you hear it, Deb?
Nope, not on my end.
That happened last time. So I'm going to have you talk more than me for that echo. Do you want to share anything more about the what happens in between with the emails and the accountability groups?
Absolutely. So with our new series, like I said, 4 parts, we set it up so that there's 1 session a month and that there's typically 3 to 4 weeks in between each session. In between those sessions, we will send a weekly email that includes recommended reading. There's a video from Darcy to kind of touch on a key point from the last session. And there's also some kind of food for thought so that there's triggers so that people can kind of, oh yeah, we talked about this and how have I been implementing it? Or I haven't, and this is a good reminder for me to start practicing this skill. They also have, we recommend that they set up accountability groups within the group of attendees so that they can work together to, almost a little small coaching group so that they can discuss, share experiences, learn from one another. It's optional for them to do that, but in our experience, most of them do because they are invested in the series. And that we continue that on until the end of the series. We do some pre and post evaluations as well to kind of learn, to see what kind of change has occurred in the 4-month period. So far, the results have been really good. The clients who've participated have been extremely happy. And we've got a lot more, and a lot thanks to Darcy's talking about Thoughtfully Fit every Thursday. So we got a lot of interest. We're hoping to get it out there a lot more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and could you talk about one more thing, Deb? You talked about executive coaching and team coaching. You've also done a lot of coaching of 2 people in organizations where you might have 2 leaders who are struggling or in conflict or want to be more effective. Can you talk a little bit about what that process looks like?
Absolutely. So we call that team coaching. So there've been instances in companies that we've worked with, and I'll give you one example, where they had 2 leaders who worked together very, very closely, but could not lead together. It was toxic. They didn't want to talk to each other. The staff that worked for them it was a toxic working environment for everyone involved. Their company reached out, asked for some help. Like, what do we do with this? Is this salvageable? I say we, like I did anything. It wasn't me. This was actually Darcy, because I am not a coach. We should make that very clear, Darcy. I am not a coach. It goes without saying. But Darcy went in and she worked with each one of them. How this one started is we actually started coaching individually each person. To the organization that hired us, Darcy learned about what their goals were for coaching, what the individual's goals were for coaching, married those together to define coaching goals, and then we worked towards those goals. They started individually because they wanted to see if this was salvageable. It was that toxic. Mm-hmm. So we coached them I think it was individually anywhere 6 months to a year, each one of them. And there were improvements, definitely. But then I think where the real improvements, real gains happened is when Darcy started to coach the 2 of them together. So rather than individually working on goals, they had a set of shared goals. And Darcy met with them twice a month. One of the meetings was the first one every month was a 2-hour in-person. And then the second one of the month was a 30-minute check-in call to see how it was. Just in I think it was 2 or 3 months time, Darcy, the change in that environment was a complete turnaround.
Yeah.
The management noticed it. The employees knew it. They could feel it. It was an amazing turnaround for something that a corporation thought, oh my gosh, we're just gonna have to scrap this and move on to different leadership. So that was probably one of our biggest challenges are, again, Darcy's biggest challenges in terms of client, but I mean, the success was amazing. I mean, we talk about it, and it's still amazing to see where they came from, where they started.
It really was amazing. In particular, the organization had utilized all their resources. HR, they were done. They didn't know what else to do. And these were very high level, valued employees, individually together, were having some real challenges. And it was starting to seep into the entire team and in the organization.
Mm-hmm.
So, Deb, anything else that you'd like to share about your role, about trends that you're seeing in professional development, or what's coming up in 2018?
Yeah, so there's a lot. I mean, I'm starting to see more proactive requests. So I feel like we're seeing more requests for, we want to invest in our people, rather than we've got this team in conflict, or we've got this person who needs coaching because XYZ is they've got these issues with their performance. Much more proactive these days in who is reached in the request. We want to invest in our people. We have an emerging leader we want to invest in with some individual coaching. We have this leader we want to take from good to great because we don't want them to leave our company. We worked with a company last year who invested in a series of workshops. They did them every quarter because they heard from their employees from an internal survey that you're giving us a ton of training on our core competencies for our job, but you're not giving us like the extra training, the professional development that is not directly related to whatever their job was. So we're seeing a lot more of that. And funny enough, one of the things I hear often in the last, I would say 6 months, I get a lot of calls about how do we work with millennials, which is interesting because a lot of companies are, we've got this pool of millennials, as they're labeled, coming into the workforce, and their expectations are different than the person who's been there for 20, 25 years or is in their 40s and in management. And the millennials are, might be stirring the pot a little, raising some feathers because they're asking questions. They're kind of bucking the system a little. It's like, well, just because it was always done that way doesn't mean that we should do it this way. And they're very vocal. They're also very vocal about their desire, like, okay, I'm going to come work for you. What's in it for me? How are you going to invest in me? How are you going to bring me along? How am I going to be successful in your company? Which is kind of a culture shift for a lot of people, because in the past, you would sit there, you'd be very grateful that the company was interested, and you wouldn't be asking those questions up front, but millennials do, and it's throwing people kind of off guard. So a lot of requests about, how to commute. And again, it kind of comes back to the base level is communication, right? Being able to have crucial conversations or frank, open conversations where each person's being heard and they're feeling valued and listened to. And in the end, regardless of what the result is, they can walk away and be like, yep, it may not have gone my way, but I was heard and I feel valued.
Such a good point. One of the tools that we often use that's kind of a coaching term, but we design an alliance and help the team to communicate together proactively. How do we want to be together, given that we have different styles and preferences?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that's been that's been what I've heard a lot is like, how do we work with millennials? And I'm like, I chuckle a little because it's like, how do I work with Dave? How do I work with Bob? It's just, we're all people. It's just, getting through the personalities and the different styles and figuring out how to work best together.
Yeah, that's great. And the echo is driving me crazy on my voice. So I'm going to ask you just one more question and throw the ball back into your court. If somebody's watching this and they're saying, gosh, I wonder if our company needs some skills and professional development, what's the process? What would they do if they were interested in learning more?
Absolutely. So there's a couple ways that they can reach out. Really, as simple as sending an email and saying, hey, I'd like to chat and learn more. On our website, there's some contact forms. There's our phone number. You can email me directly at Deb.com.
We'll put that in the notes.
Yep. Or you can email me directly at Deb@DarcyLuoma.com. and just kind of, give me a little overview, or just say, hey, I'd like to chat and learn more about what you guys do and the services you offer, and see if there's anything that, could benefit our company. And usually how I start the process is, like I said earlier, it's just a phone call. Tell me a little bit about where you guys are at, what led you to reach out, what your corporate goals are, and we just have a conversation and we go from there. In fact, today I had a conversation with someone earlier today about a couple of people that will be coaching, and it's just a conversation. There's no script to this. It's really just a kind of get to know you and see how we can potentially help and be a fit in your organization with the services that we offer.
I think it's one of the advantages of being a boutique consulting and coaching firm is that we do look to customize and have an in-depth conversation. It's not always one size fits all. And if we're not the right fit, we're going to say it. We're going to help find somewhere else for you to get your needs met.
Absolutely. And, and the other thing I'll say about us, and this may seem a little weird to say it, but we're not a sales-driven organization. We are really about helping people, building high-performing people in teams is what we're about. And that's what we're passionate about. And we aren't in this to, we're not cookie cuttering this, like sell as many workshops as we can. That's not our style. We're really invested in the companies that we work with. We really want to see them succeed. The people that we work with, the coaching clients, we want everyone to be high performing, and that's our goal. So whether it be an individual who comes for coaching, a company who has an executive that they'd like to have coaching, a team that they'd like training or development for, or whatever brings you to our doorstep, our goal is to take you from good to great.
Yeah, and I think the other thing I'll say, I'll close out, is that we walk the talk. You and I have executive coaches, and we hire consultants from our own team to help us with strategic planning. We just had a team building event with a facilitator, and so I think we see the value in our organization.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely believe in this stuff.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Deb, very much. Just a pleasure. I love having you on the team, and it's great to hear from you about what is that you're hearing from organizations. So if anybody wants to reach out, contact Deb at Deb@DarcyLuoma.com, or you can go online, DarcyLuoma.com, and send a note, and to work with you. Hope you guys have a great weekend and a great start to the new year. We'll be back next Thursday for Thoughtful Thursdays. Thanks for joining me, everybody. And thanks again, Deb, for being here with us today.
Thanks, Darcy.
Yeah, take care, everybody.